Hey everyone, you're listening to Your Daily Brew, the weekly podcast about nothing, about anything, featuring your hosts Ezekiel Orlana and Jeffrey Cherian.
So grab your favorite cup of brew and sip along with us as we dive into our world of casual conversations.
We're gonna do there has to be more pep. We sound so...
I'm jumping off the walls.
Jumping off the walls?
I'm like the caffeine is kicking me.
All right. This is some background really quick. We just tried recording, and then about 2 minutes in, Jeff was giving me a hard time trying to pronounce Salvadoran.
It's Salvadoran.
No,
Salvadoran.
There's no. So okay,
all right, say it. Let me hear it.
Here's the okay. You ready? So all right, context, people. We don't know what we're talking about today. Originally, we were going to talk about like cultural differences between Jeff's cultural background, traditions, and all that stuff, and mine. However, I'm like horribly disconnected and disjointed from like my family's kind of like heritage and traditional like values. Well, no, I shouldn't say traditional values, like culture and stuff like that. My parents are from El Salvador. I was born and raised here in America, New Jersey. And I was the last of 4 kids by a long time, a lot of years gap. Yeah, I'm not really that connected with that culture
Because of the gap.
Yeah, because of the gap, and well, because we didn't really do stuff like that. I don't know what Salvadoran culture is. But I mean, I definitely would love to, I guess, and I know it's kind of something I gotta kind of take upon myself to look into and ask about. But
so you'd want to explore it?
Yeah. But that all aside, and we could dive more into that. But that aside, that's the context. All right, we have no idea what we're talking about. We're going to talk about culture, and now we're not doing that anymore because there's not much to talk about, at least from my perspective. So Jeff and I were trying to record just a few moments ago. Talking the same thing, giving the same spiel, and I'm trying to tell him how to say Salvadoran. Yeah, and he keeps saying. He keeps insisting that he's saying Salvadoran, and he's literally saying El Salvadorian, and I'm like, here's the eureka moment.
L in Salvadoran.
Here's the eureka moment.
It's like you're telling me the L. I thought the L in Salvadoran.
No.
So I was like, Salvadoran?
No.
But the L in the beginning of El Salvadoran, you don't need
it. And it's not. It's not Salvador.
You didn't have to cancel the whole last recording. No. I'm slow, man. The caffeine's like making me run through everything
getting
quickly.
Into the territory of 1 minute of being like El Salvadorian. No, El Salvador. El Salvadorian? No, Salvadoran. Salvadorian? So I was like, no.
Well, it's good. You're telling me about your country.
It's canceled. Cancel culture has canceled you,
Canceled,
Jeffrey.
yeah.
Jeff Ray.
Ray. Yeah. And you were telling me about your dish that you like from there.
Yeah, which has a really bad name. It's called pupusas. Pupusas. All right?
It's a very unique name.
All it really is like a very soft, stuffed corn tortilla, and you stuff it with like either beans and cheese or meat and cheese, any combination of stuff really.
It sounds like a burrito.
No, so imagine. But
it's not. I guess it's specific spices.
No, imagine like a flour tortilla, right? Just a plain flour tortilla laying flat, but now it has like leaven, like it's actually thick, like it's a really thick, almost like anywhere between a quarter to a half-inch thick sometimes.
It's like a naan.
Yeah. Okay. Think of it like, yeah, that's actually that's a good one. So like a naan is like a little bit more bready and stuff like that. This is like doughy, right? It's doughy, it's soft or whatever.
It sounds familiar what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah, so that's like one of the most well-known dishes from El Salvador or a Salvadoran dish. Danny and I, one day, we were looking into like, we wanted to try a different variety of foods because we've had like a lot of different types of Asian foods, Thai and Japanese and all this stuff. And we're like, what about? And we had Mexican, we had Cuban, and so we're like, and these are authentic places that we're going to. Not your kind of like run of the mill, like whatever. Like it's the American spin on it. Like these are actual like
Jose Tejas.
actual facts. Yeah. Well, I mean that's Tex-Mex, so that's its own thing. It's not really meant to be Mexican. But Jose Tejas, yeah. Rip. Anyways, it's delicious, but rip. Anyways,
You trying to find an authentic place?
yeah. So we were trying to find an authentic place. Salvadoran place, and I'm like, oh well, most of them are in Elizabeth, right? Elizabeth, New Jersey. They've got a good amount of Salvadoran places, maybe one or two here there in Newark, but all I remember is Elizabeth. And when my family used to live there, myself when I was like really really young, like 5 or something, we'd go there. I remember us walking down to like the Salvadoran restaurant and getting like food or whatever. So we were looking, and I'm like, I mean, I'll drive to Elizabeth, but I don't really want to. Like, why? There's so many other places, from Central Jersey down south. Like, why do I have to go to like Elizabeth? Like, I don't want to drive there. Like, it sucks. Parking sucks. Like, there has to be another place in the whole state. There's not another Salvadoran place. So we're looking, and there's actually a good amount because you have different like Hispanic and Latino communities in like the Plainfields. All the different plain fields and like even like some other places, like not all the way South Jersey, but South Central, kind of like the lower end of Central leading into South. We found one in North Plainfield, and oh man, I always forget the name. It's called El Creador, so the creator. That's how it translates. It's the creator Salvadoran restaurant.
Bold name.
In
Plainfield.
In North Plainfield. It's the only one of its kind in that over there. Authentic Salvadoran food, and we went there, we got the pupusas, the stuffed tortillas. They're fantastic.
Wow.
Absolutely fantastic.
Did you bring it home?
So much. Yeah. So I brought it home a couple weeks ago to my parents, and I was just like, anytime I have like food leftovers from whatever, I bring them home, and my parents like they beam, like their faces glow, and they're like, "What you got there?" And I'm like, all right. I'm like, if I'm like okay to give it to them, I'm like, oh yeah, I got you guys food. If I'm like, no, this is mine, I'm kind of like, nah, I don't know, it's a secret, and I don't.
It's like, what do you have there? Straight to me.
Straight up. I brought it home, and
that must have been all right. Yeah.
So I'm kind of. It's funny because like I don't ever get nervous or whatever. I'm kind of at the point where it's just like if I bring somebody or if I give someone like a taste of food or something like that that's outside of what they've normally had, I kind of expect them to be like, I don't really have high expectations. I'm not like, oh, I set myself up for them to be disappointed or for them to be like uninterested. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. They're probably not gonna like this. They're probably gonna be like, oh, it's not authentic or like it doesn't taste good. But I think me and Danny think it's like phenomenal. Right. I give one to each of my parents. Well, I gave one to my mom.
Did you tell them what it was?
Yeah, I told them. They saw it. They were like, oh, this is pupusas.
Oh, what did they say?
And then my mom was just like, oh my goodness, where'd you get these? And I'm like, oh, it's a place down south of here, like North Plainfield. And my dad was like, North Plainfield? And then he's like, you didn't go to Elizabeth? I'm like, nah. There's other Salvadoran place. Like I went, it's like 30 minutes south, but it's really good. So my mom grabbed and she loved it. Right?
Really?
She loves most of the foods that I bring home, but she loved it.
Wow.
My dad is the one. My dad is the one that's difficult to kind of like please. He got up. I asked him, like, hey, it was like 10 minutes past. And I'm like, he didn't
10 minutes
get anything.
of anticipation?
Yeah.
So you just sat there like...
And then I just asked, yeah. And I
asked, your mom's like raving about it. He's just sitting there like trying to like figure out.
He's watching TV and like he's just sitting there. And I'm in like the dining room and I'm like, hey, Dad, you want one? He's just like, yeah, I'll come grab one. He gets up, he comes, grabs one, and it's like almost like it's slow-mo when he grabs one. He looks at it and he's just kind of like, oh, okay. He's like, wow, these are really big. And then I'm like, yeah.
How big are they?
They're bigger than normal. Oh, they're pretty big.
What?
They're I don't know.
That looks like
it's almost like a salad plate, like a small salad plate or something.
But you're holding it like it's like one of those Chipotle burrito.
No. That's not like this is.
That's the size of the plate.
Imagine if it was like a disc, like a frisbee.
Okay.
This is how big the Frisbee is.
But is it a corn tortilla? They wrap it up.
No, it's not wrapped. Imagine it's just a flat tortilla.
Oh,
but
I'm still like comparing it to a burrito. So it's on a tortilla. You put the beans on a tortilla.
No, in it. You literally imagine like a dough. Imagine a dough mixture.
All right.
Right.
Yes.
You pat it down flat.
Okay.
And then you pat like the meat
into it
and the beans and the cheese into it. And you fry it. You
so it's inside that.
It's inside, like it's patted inside. It's just a disc. It's a really thick tortilla.
Oh.
You know what we're gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do?
Well, I want to try it.
You wanna? We're gonna go later. We're gonna go later.
We gotta record this.
We're gonna go later.
All right.
I'll save some. I will post some quality pics.
Okay.
All right. On our Instagram.
All right.
You know, like nice aesthetic Instagram.
Yeah. Teach me how to say it again. How do you say it?
Pupusas. Pupusas.
I'm so afraid of messing it up.
Please don't. I don't. All right, go ahead. Try and say it. It's just
say slowly.
So, I'm gonna say it with the Spanish accent, and then I'll say it with
do the English
with the English way. So the English way would be like saying poo poo. All right, so it's pupusas.
Pupusas.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. The Spanish way, it's use, so it's papusas.
Papusa.
Yeah, it's like
papusa.
Yeah, it's like papusa.
Papusa.
Or pupusas.
Pupusas.
There you go.
Pupusas.
There you go.
Okay.
I always do the papu, and then it's poo poo. No, it sounds terrible.
Pupusa.
Well, I mean, it's more kiddish than anything. It's just
I'm excited to try the pupusas.
Cruddy kid humor almost, but they're absolutely delicious. Again, El Creador. Well, that's a terrible way to say it. El Creador, the creator in North Plainfield. Great place. We'll go later. We'll post food pics. I mean, those are easy.
Right.
Not like the failure of our coffee taste testing.
We're gonna eventually post it.
Yeah. So we didn't hear from anybody, which is kind of disappointing. We're disappointed.
Come on, you guys disappointed Zeke.
But anyway, yeah. So from our previous podcast, Pod 4, the coffee taste testing, we mentioned I was going to be a video pod, blah blah blah. We had an infinite amount of trouble uploading that just to our Dropbox.
It's only 2 gigs if you're opening one for the first time, as opposed to like you get 15 gigs on Google Drive. So just if you're gonna use a OneDrive, just use Google. Just to if you're not willing to pay anything, anyways.
Yeah. So infinite amount of trouble.
I mean, and each video is like a
each
gig,
video took like least, 2 to 3 hours,
half a gig. So
and that. It was insane, but like just to the
editing video itself, it's like apparently it's like what 1 minute of video is going to take at least an hour. Like usually,
it's just
and this was like even like our coffee tasting was like 20 minutes.
The coffee tasting was 20 minutes.
Even just the coffee alone
was 20 minutes, and then the rest of the video is like the rest of the pod when we're just kind of shooting the breeze, chit chatting, but.
We will get it up eventually.
Yeah, so I think our ultimate plan now is basically to trim the cut off, just trim the fat off, and post it to where it's just the whole thing on YouTube. All right? Because if we try and do highlights, we're not...
I mean, eventually the goal is, I know you guys want to see video. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of figuring out the logistics of it.
Yeah.
Seeing... get into the flow of it. See, like right now, I think we're focusing more on the audio end of it. But eventually, we're gonna branch out into it. I think.
Yeah, I think the most difficult thing though is that it's just I don't want to make excuses. I don't like making excuses, but we have excuses. All right.
Yeah. Zeke has a legit job. I work full time at Frappe Joe's. And it's.
So we both work full time jobs. And our hours don't line up. Okay. That's number one, which is huge already. That's already enough to dismantle, let's go get coffee together, which we don't, because most coffee shops that are actually good, not Starbucks and Dunkin'.
Which we figured out last week.
Exactly. Most mom and pop coffee shops, they close 5. They close really early on weekends, which is when we'd more or less be free. But we do the podcast on the weekends. This is when we record and we edit it. We're last minute. It's not cool. We're trying to catch up to speed. So, maybe this is actually a good time to talk about this.
Well, I want to finish off the story before we get into that. So your dad tried the pupusa.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Pupusa.
Yeah.
Pupusa. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So he took a bite, slow motion.
So he took a bite, right? And he went to the couch. He took a bite, and then I'm sitting there. I'm kind of like, I wonder what this guy's gonna say. I'm like, I don't think he likes it. He's probably gonna be like, oh, it's bad, it's greasy, or I don't know. But they're not even like they're really good. And so I'm like,
Was it beans or meat?
It was meat.
What kind of meat?
It was just it's what's known as a pupusa revuelta, which is the works. So basically, the beans, meat, and cheese. So this one's just carne asada. So it's just regular grilled beef or whatever.
See, this is interesting. I don't know why you don't want to talk about this.
Well, because it's one it's one dish. Like
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about food at
It's
this
unique.
point.
That probably helps. That probably helps. Yeah.
He took the bite and then he looks up at me and he's just like, "Where did you get these again?" And then I'm like,
Ooh.
"Oh, I went to North Plainfield." Like he works for his friend like on the weekends. He does like a side job or whatever with him. Just helping him out with some of the. My dad's a master diesel truck mechanic. Master because he's been doing it for decades.
Because he's the master.
He's got certifications and everything. Like it's crazy. This man like he really is like a master at his craft.
He knows.
I bet he's done his 10,000 hours. I feel like he's done his due diligence. He deserves it, every bit of it. So he typically works in like the Denellen, Greenbrook area. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that specifically, but
No.
it's actually a lot of like Latino and Hispanic. There's a good amount of like a big community over there, and the Plainfields too, like I mentioned earlier. So there are some good places, like food places, like Peruvian and Cuban and some other like Latin America, just kind of across the board stuff. So he knows because his friend will get him lunch on the weekends or whatever.
So he knows Plainfield is an area.
He knows about.
And
he
never heard this place before?
He's never heard of it because he's never had Salvadoran food from that area, except Elizabeth and like Newark. They like never have had that.
Wow.
Unless my sisters would go to Elizabeth, drive to Elizabeth, do that and get pupusas.
So he.
So now it's
really
like
liked it if he's.
Now it's like his son. After so many years of like really like having this like inaccessible thing or rarely accessible thing, his son comes home and it's just like, yeah, it's this place and I like driving a lot. So it's like for me, it's close. 30 minutes is close.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, I want to take you guys like to my parents. I'm like, I've been wanting to take you guys because you guys should definitely go here.
Have you?
It's a cute little like mom and pop kind of like small restaurant takeout place.
Did you take them?
I have to. I want to. So I'll probably take
must have
them.
really liked it then.
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome, man.
I'm thinking I'm like probably like a weeknight or something, or like within the next couple of weeks I got to take them because otherwise it's gonna get away from me again. Because over the summer I meant to, but I didn't. And look at it's October, end of October. I got to do it before it gets too late. Anyways, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Like loved it. And I was like, really? And he's just like, this is the best pupusa I've ever had, hands down. I've never heard a comment like that from my dad. Never. I've never heard a comment like that from him about anything, like any food, any like maybe cars. He'll be like, oh, this is like one of the best cars I've driven. Like when it's a new car, like when my brother got his new car and stuff like that. When he tested out my like future car over there or whatever, he was just like, oh wow, this is a good car, kid. And like for him, that's his way of saying like. That's his version of us saying like, "Oh shit!"
That's crazy because how long has he been living in El Salvador?
So he left the country when he was like 19 or 20.
So has he's had legit
and he's saying
pupusas.
Even from there, best pupusa he's ever had. This one in North Plainfield, New Jersey.
That's a big That's a lot of praise, man. And from an actual El Salvadoran.
No
From
L.
Salvadoran. Yeah.
From it doesn't matter.
That's crazy. That's high praise.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I'm like the man, and he went back to El Salvador for his mother's funeral, my grandmother, and may she rest in peace. A few years ago or something. So he had authentic food when he was. I mean, over there it's food for us, authentic. So he had food. He had pupusas, but even comparatively, he said this is the best pupusa he's ever had.
How awesome is that? As far as like, in America, you can just go and have like actual authentic food. I don't know if you can do that anywhere else in the world. I mean, you could, but like we have such a melting pot of cultures. You can have any country's authentic food.
Yeah, literally. Like you
I
want.
don't know if that's like in the mid America you can do that, but here in New Jersey,
Oh,
you
like the
can like
Midwest and all that stuff.
yeah, like
Probably rarely
yeah, but like here in New Jersey, like
on the
Central Jersey, which does exist by the way.
on the coasts, on the coast. Well,
But
actually, quick side note, quick fun fact, right?
Mhm.
Central Jersey, as stated on the official Twitter of the New Jersey government, exists.
Thank you.
It exists.
I was in Rutgers, and everybody there was like, "It doesn't exist." I was like, where do I exist? Where am I then?"
You're not North Jersey.
Yeah.
You're not Central.
Where Central Jersey exists, guys.
Middlesex County
We are a real thing.
is Central Jersey.
We exist. But there you go. Central
So
Jersey
New Jersey
said
government,
this.
go look it up, go Google or whatever.
All right.
Yes,
I
it
want everybody
exists.
to know this.
All right. And so if you're not from New Jersey and you're especially not from this area, well, now you know.
Yeah,
There's
that's a
guy
big
from work.
debate in New Jersey.
Did I tell you about that? There's this guy from like, I guess that works at my company in some other different department. He was like getting so worked up that like myself and like two other guys that live in Jersey were saying, "Oh, Central Jersey." He's just like, "There's no Central Jersey. There's no Central Jersey."
It's just like saying we don't exist.
Yeah,
Like, what?
yeah. It's just like, but he was adamant about it. And I'm like,
Are you good,
like,
sir?
Yeah. He was like,
We're not you.
it's like he's getting offended.
We don't live up north with the New Yorkans. We're not south like Pennsylvanians. We're our own people, man.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of weird. I'm like saying all this stuff, but I've never had a pork roll before. And all the New Jerseyans are gonna get on my back now.
Oh, I might as well have said the F word.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm saying it so that way you guys hold me accountable. I have to have a pork roll soon. And you guys, please suggest me a place to have
Taylor
pork
ham,
rolls.
egg, and cheese
But they don't say that's
pork
even
roll.
that's like north
Pork
south.
roll,
They
Taylor
say
ham,
say it differently.
Whatever. We'll go one day. We'll go.
Anyways, while we're
We should
talking
do
about
that.
this,
We should probably do that. Like some
you
of like
think
the
that's
more
culture?
some
New
of the
Jersey
more,
culture?
I think it's New Jersey. Definitely a New Jersey culture. Like
Is
going to
there-
Atlantic City is New Jersey culture.
Or let me ask you a better: is there an American culture?
Yeah, of course. Oh, don't
So
even
you
get
say
me started. Yes, I know what the yes.
So what is American culture? How would you define
don't
it?
want
I would say I'm American and I follow American culture. But a lot of people would argue America doesn't have a culture. I mean, there is a culture, but it's more of like joking. But you tell me, what's your definition of
Think of it like this, or this is how I view it. American culture is the cocktail of the world.
I like that. That's a good definition.
And every other country like on the planet, or most countries on the planet, are different types of alcohols and like whiskeys and liquors and liqueurs and wines, all the other stuff that you would use in order to mix and match to make a cocktail. All the possible ingredients. That's what each world is. That's kind of how I view it. Every place else is its own dignified ingredient. Then you come to America, you go to like like the UK, stuff like that, where there's like melting pots, like significant like melting pots, right? Because most countries have people like all over. China has a bunch of people from all over the world and all this stuff. Blah blah, blah. Spain, whatever. But the majority rule is like what it is. But at the end of the day, it's still like Chinese culture, like Spanish culture for Spain, but
American
the UK
culture.
and the Americans, it's just like British culture, American culture, or like, foods, authentic food. And it's just like, what is that? Well, they're the mixtures, they're the melting pots, and that's what they are.
I would say like a lot of people, American culture is like sitting on a Sunday night watching American football and having a hot dog or something. That's what a lot of people would say.
Hamburgers,
being
apple
obese.
pie, beer.
And
Beer.
like being dumb, that's American culture. People from the outside would look in saying that's Americans. But I don't know. A lot of people I know from what people say about like from my Indian culture, people say like they have like disdain for kids that are Indian and grow up here because they lose that called Indian culture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is it?
What do you mean?
You said they had a saying or
Disdain.
Oh, disdain.
Yeah, like they look down on it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like they're losing their culture. And I don't know how I feel about it. Because I'm in a weird camp. I don't know if a lot of people agree with me. I think I don't put a large importance on culture. And I think you feel the same way.
I'm exactly the same way.
Which I don't know if we're in the minority here. But I guess it's because we grew up in America. It's kind of like,
because of this,
Mhm.
right? And feel free to please butt in and cut me off before I go on like this soapbox. But I've had this conversation a lot with my girlfriend and even with some other friends.
I like how we didn't talk. We said we're not gonna talk about culture. I knew we were gonna talk
We
about culture.
we didn't
But anyways, keep
we
going.
didn't. Yeah, sorry.
It's a good topic. It's not a bad
We
topic,
don't
actually.
know what we're doing sometimes, but we get around to it. Um, that's funny. Anyways, we come full circle. Anyways, so I've had this conversation a lot before, and I'm 23 years old. All right, I'm not the wisest person on the planet. But that being said, from personal experience and hearing from so many other people's personal experience and hearing about the conversations that are being had today, it's like the idea of like, oh, if you're not born and raised in that country, like, or like, you're not fully invested or whatever, you are looked down upon, like a lesser version of wherever your parents from or where your ancestry lies. So it's just like Koreans or Latinos or whatever, Indian or whatever. It's just like, oh, you're born and raised in America. You're kind of like this American brat almost.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're not really Indian. You're fake Indian. Oh, you're not really Latino. You're fake Latino.
It's
or
weird
like you're fake
too,
Salvadoran.
because like I remember going to India like last year, and they know it's weird because you look like them. It's actually really cool seeing people that look like you as when you're in America. It's like everybody's looks, but you go there, they know you're different because you act differently.
Yeah.
And it's sad because you don't fit in there.
Yeah.
But then you come back here and some people don't think you fit in there either.
Yeah.
Because you're not like a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be specific, but it's like where do you fall? Where do you fit in? It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody feels that way, but
I definitely feel that way. I know, I know plenty of people that feel that way also. Because
I identify myself as American, but not everyone would think that way.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised here.
I'm an American. Yeah,
I relate more here than people there.
Yeah,
even though they all look like me.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. It's personally, I believe that this idea of looking down upon someone of like, an American background or upbringing who are disconnected from their culture, it doesn't mean like they're necessarily fake. So here's the thing. Born and raised in America, like people like us, right? If you went around and proclaimed to everyone, I'm Indian, my Indian culture, blah, 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 but you really do it more for show than you do because you actually give a damn.
Isn't there a name for that?
I think there is, or there's a term or something.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So I don't want
cultural appropriation.
There you go. There you go. I don't want to point. We can't point fingers because it's politically incorrect and we don't want to get controversial. Okay. But I'm sure many of you who are listening, if not all of you, can think of examples of people who culturally appropriate.
Okay. I want to say I want to do that with my music.
So,
but I don't know if that's because I want to use it to be unique or because I actually like it. I want to say because I like it, but also because it would be unique too. So I don't know if it's wrong. It's probably not wrong because it is my culture. But then again, do I fully embrace my culture? I mean, I'm more American. That's how I feel.
Yeah. So I
don't know where it lies.
No.
It's cultural appropriation.
But here's the thing.
Is it cultural?
It's not a fine line. It's I don't think it's a fine line because when you know that you're doing so like let's say you're listening to a lot like cultural like Indian music or whatever, like real deal Indian music, right? And you enjoy it and you love it and you love listening to it. That there's lots of things like dishes, food, stuff like that, things about your culture that you want to enjoy, that you like enjoying, that you have taken upon yourself and made the decision like I like this thing and I want to continue listening or I want to continue eating, right? That's fine. It's perfectly fine. When you go around and you start talking about and trying to basically flash your culture and everything in people's faces, but you really don't know what you're talking about, or you sound, to the point where you either sound ignorant, you sound arrogant, and at the end of the day, you're as American pie as can be. That's the difference here.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say. I have like it's a good example. I don't know if I'm allowed.
I want to give a specific
can I just
example?
give a broad Japanese culture?
Okay. All right.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Before we need everyone listening to understand, and I'm sure by now everyone knows, and everyone can hopefully realize that we're as genuine as possible on this podcast, and we have done everything we can to avoid speaking about things that are controversial. Okay, so I guess this is our disclaimer now, right?
I'm not trying to offend anyone.
We're not in any way, shape, or form here to offend anyone of any cultural background, whatever you are, wherever you're from, whatever you identify as.
I love everybody.
Like, at the end of the day, to each their own, and we care about our listeners.
Yeah,
and
I want the best.
We want the best for everyone, and we just want everyone to be safe, healthy, and happy. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
And whatever we're talking about,
I'm just making general statements.
Exactly.
Observations.
That's exactly what it is. General statements, general observations from what we view. I'm sure there are also some of you that are going to agree. There are going to be some of you that really disagree or are in between. We're just giving our viewpoints, our opinions on what we've observed in our lives so far. Right? So if we're uneducated in certain things, if we sound like we don't really know what we're talking about, please educate us
please.
And talk to us in a way that it's educational, that it's actual,
don't talk us down.
Actual feedback.
Yeah,
not criticism.
Because I'm really trying to be open minded. I really want to. I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm open minded. I'm not here to just start kind of like being like, that sucks, you suck, blah, blah. Like, I'm not here to do that. And we're not here to talk about that because that's not who we are. We're here to have these conversations and really just kind of get it out in the open. Like, hey, this is what I observed. Do you observe that? And there's going to be times where we disagree. Like
what I'm saying that I'm like, I don't know if I can continue my thought here.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
So after that preface, I'm sure. All right. So there's this term. Weeaboos. Weeaboos. And if there's a weeaboo out there that feels differently, you could come on and tell me, hey, I think they might think that's right or whatever, but from what I'm seeing and what people say, it's like, it's like one aspect of the culture. It's not the actual culture. It's based off what anime portray the culture as.
Yeah.
And
that subparticle of Japanese culture.
Is it? I mean, they're just really excited about it.
Okay, so here's the thing.
But is it appropriating?
So that's I don't have an answer for you. Like,
what's your opinion?
My opinion? Oh man, it's tough because I'm not educated enough.
See, that's the thing. Like, at least you know that much.
Yeah, so I know the fact. Here's the deal. I'm not educated enough in the concept or the act of cultural appropriation, but I know it when I see it. Like when it's very apparent. When it's very apparent. When you're like how I said earlier, when you just go around flashing like
my culture, you know nothing about it,
but you don't know anything about it. It's really ignorant. For the gram. It's for social media, just because for shits and giggles, and like. But in your day to day, like I said, you're as American pie as can be. Like you're as basic can be. All right. Now, if you're, let's say, like me, and I was trying to like flash your culture and wear, your traditional clothing and all that stuff, like Indian stuff or whatever, but I'm just doing it for show, for the that's not cool, man.
Actually, this is a good segue. This is a very good segue into Halloween. There was someone last year who dressed up. I don't know if it was
Native American.
Was it Native American?
I think it was Native American.
There's probably one Native American. I thought it was Hawaiian. Somebody dressed up in Hawaiian garb for Halloween, I think.
Yeah.
Was it Moana?
I don't know.
It was not someone who was Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. And it caused a fuss, I think. But you know what? It wasn't the Hawaiian people that caused the fuss. I don't think it was.
It was other people.
Yeah. So, and it's fitting because Halloween's gonna be when this comes out. How do you feel about that?
Wearing costume or
Well, it's
garb.
not, but I don't think they're trying to. I don't know. I
Here.
I know there was once a post, right? Um, it was this Japanese guy, and he was showing other Japanese people dressing up in kimonos or traditional. Is
Hmm.
so? Someone dressed up as kimonos, and he was showing around Japanese people in Japan, and they were like happy about it that people were wearing it.
Hmm.
They weren't offended.
I think what you got to understand is like, look, if you're gonna,
They were excited that people were, you
hmm
know,
so
sharing their culture.
what this, this is a really heavy subject. Like it really is. Okay,
I'm treading the line,
we're treading very lightly,
but it's just all right.
but okay. So I, there's so many thoughts and everything, and I can't say like this is right, this is wrong, because again, I'm not completely
Mm-hmm.
educated in it, but um, I can't harp on this idea of like, well, if you're gonna dress as the Black Panther for Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know right now, before you even make that decision, you have to think to yourself, especially now, you have to think to yourself, is that appropriate? Is that appropriate that, like, based on the movie and the character and everything, what is the Black Panther? What does that mean to that
Mm-hmm.
character? I know it's fiction and everything, but you gotta think about those things, and you
Mm-hmm.
gotta be like, well, is it appropriate? Because at the end of the day, the Black Panther is very culturally like tied
Yeah.
to African American tradition, Wakandan tradition, but it's based off of African American tradition and everything. So I know it sounds funny, it's fictional. Who cares? It's a comic book. Anyone could dress as
Yeah.
anyone. But is it the right thing to do? Probably
Mm-hmm.
not. If I went around dressing in, typical like traditional Hawaiian garb or something like that, or try dressing up as like Moana or Maui, right? What's
Yeah.
his name? Yeah. Imagine I dressed up like Moana. I could. I could
Yeah.
dress up in a dress, but would it be necessarily right for me to dress up as like, Maui or whatever?
I
I don't. I myself wouldn't do it because I don't want there to even be a remote chance of me getting caught up in that sort of situation. And I feel like
it's so
and I feel like things that are culturally tied
mm-hmm.
have heavy traditional links to what those characters are, whether fictional or especially real, right? I personally believe that it is best to tread very lightly and to avoid getting mixed up in anything like that. So like specific like Halloween, we're talking about costumes.
Mm.
I would advise against wearing a costume that is culturally tied.
I mean, here's my opinion, right? I
It,
I guess this is kind of controversial too, but it goes back to culture, right?
yeah.
I don't. I'm probably getting a lot of slack for this, but
Hey, it's your opinion, and again, I don't have to agree with it. No one else has to agree with it. But
this is.
if it's an uneducated thing and it's just incorrect, period.
Well, you can call me out on it. You're right.
All right, yeah.
I don't. I don't place much importance on culture. I don't care. All right, and that's probably because the way I've grown up. But I don't see the point of it.
What do you
I'm
mean?
sorry.
No, what do you mean?
Because all right, so a lot of people place pride in their country or like their culture, and I mean it's great, it's good, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's more divisive than letting people be together. It's like, oh, this is my culture, this is my country. Like you can't be a part of that. I don't know. It's just to me, it seems like we're all human beings at the end of the day. I think it should be like we should all I don't know, be more unified in my opinion. And it feels so weird
It
saying
feels
that.
it feels
It feels like
weird.
I I
Yeah.
I feel bad, but I don't know. I'm not trying to. Because look at America, right? We can all share in each other's. I think it's good to be unique. It's good to have different cultures, but saying your country is better than another country or saying my culture's. I
See,
don't
that's
think anybody
wrong.
is.
That's wrong.
But it's like, like why not share cultures? Why not be open to like why if you're making fun of that culture is wrong. But
Yeah,
why not wear a Hawaiian costume? In
because
my
it's a
opinion, I don't see a
costume.
problem with it.
Because okay, so here's the thing.
Because
If
like it's just culture, it's just like
because it's a
at the end of the day
costume.
we're human beings. Well, it's a
Because a costume is supposed to be like this kind of like funny hyperbolic version
okay.
of what the
So what if
regular
they
real
bought
thing is.
actual
So if you were
traditional?
going to like, I don't know, a traditional Indian wedding,
Mm,
it's required that you wear traditional Indian
mm,
garb, right? Like
yeah,
or a traditional whatever wedding.
yeah.
And they're going to tell you, "Oh, please you have to wear traditional blah 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 garb and you have to and this is what that garb entails." Blah blah
Mm.
blah blah blah. You're gonna do it, right? Are you culturally appropriating? Are you being an absolute
No,
prick? No, you're
there is
not.
different people that have
Because
worn like saris, the Indian
exact
dress.
exactly. But if you just go about your day because you're like, oh, I like wearing traditional Indian garb because it's comfy,
Mm,
and not because you actually care or acknowledge the significance of the cultural traditions behind it,
mm.
that's a problem because you're really wearing it. Why? It's like this. There's a term in it. I can't get my mind around it. But you're really just like it's almost like a hyperbole to you. It's just like this whatever thing.
Mm.
It's like this big, fun, fantastic version of what it actually is. And for people, for a great number of people,
Mm.
it's something very significant and very, very important.
So just
So
pay respects to it.
exactly, and
That's what it
that's what
is.
it is. It's like you
As
need
much
to
as
have
I don't
respect.
put a huge importance on it, pay respects to it if you're gonna do it, I guess. Because in my head, I don't know. I guess in the grand scheme of things, I feel like, and this is my opinion, I feel like people should, as a whole human race, I feel like we should all be,
Okay with interchanging or sharing
yeah, like
cultures and all that stuff,
we're all
which
gonna.
is
There's like, I don't know, like
yeah.
we is if we're gonna be unified, if we're gonna go to space, colonize Mars, as a human race, go to galaxies and universes, we're gonna be like, oh, China's gonna get there first. Like, no, like we're all gonna, as a human, Earth's gonna get there, not China alone's gonna get there. Like, come on, like, why does it have to be so competitive? Let's all just get along. Let's do it together. Like, oh, China's the best, or like USA is the best. Like, no, let's all be
I
together. Let's
see.
all
Yeah.
like there was I was thinking about Star Wars, the Star Wars theme park in Disney.
Mm-hmm.
What they were trying to do with the cuisine is like they mixed up different cultures and made unique cuisine, like Star Wars type cuisines.
Mm-hmm.
But they only did that by mixing up different cultures and made something unique.
I
Like,
mean, look at the world of Star Wars, though. Like,
it's so diverse.
yeah, it's
But
insane.
if like we can do so much if we just put aside our differences.
I
And like, I mean, it's good to be unique, all right?
yeah.
I'm really not trying to like it's nice to be proud of it, but at the same time, I don't think it's not something to be sensitive about. It's not something
No, yeah.
I don't know. And please educate me. I'm so open to hearing your opinions on it. Like, this is just my opinions on a surface level. I don't know much, but from what I'm seeing, from based off what I've grown up, that's how I feel.
I think okay.
And
So
so I guess going back to what we were saying, I don't see, as long as you respect the culture.
you don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I no okay. So I see exactly what you mean. The unification of basic of humankind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of viewing it as not I'm not I didn't view it in the way that you're viewing it or
Okay.
that you're talking about.
Sure.
In the idea of you're thinking it from the lines of one culture is better than another and it's almost like a competition
Mhm.
between like, oh, this is better, that's better,
Mhm.
whatever. I'm kind of not kind of I'm talking about I haven't even touched that. I haven't even gotten there.
Okay.
You're on like a whole different level than what
I mean,
I'm
this is just
specifically
what I've been
talking.
thinking about sometimes.
I'm specifically
Sometimes it's just like vents.
no,
Right?
no, no, no. That's no, that's perfectly fine because these are two huge subtopics in the grand scheme of culture,
Mhm.
right? Cultural appropriation, what's right, what's wrong, etc. What's respectful and what's disingenuous, things like that. I'm specifically talking about only utilizing another person's or another, you know, or a culture for personal gain or profit, whether
Yeah.
it be attention, anything from the smallest thing like attention on Instagram, all the way up to like actually like making money and stuff.
So it's like an instant meme as opposed to
Like,
actually understanding and appreciating culture. I get that.
exactly. That's
That's
specifically what
wrong.
I'm talking about. Which that little thing has so much.
Wrong.
There's so many nuances and so many lines and so many boundaries. It's so difficult, and that's the huge conversation that's going on right now. And then you have people like how you're saying, who's just like, oh, but what the big picture is like, we should be able to respect and just share or whatever. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, you know, how can you have a unified world without sharing and without, you know, generosity and respect for one another and for one another's traditions and values, and you know, also sharing those traditions and values, combining them to make other types of subcultures, you know, sub traditions, things like that. New things can come out of taking original things and combining them and twisting them, remixing them.
Yeah, I think there's so much we can learn from each other's culture.
And definitely,
you know.
But the thing is that, you know, that's the idea and that's the goal. But there are so many people who are so ignorant to that idea that they believe wearing, you know, traditional Indian garb as a Halloween costume to a Halloween party is okay. You see that's the thing. It's just like, it's not a costume. It's traditional Indian garb.
That's when you put it that way.
That's
not a costume,
and that's the thing. And that's where it's just like lines start getting blurry. That's what I'm talking about.
That's
Those things are the things that people need to be so conscientious of.
All right, now I have to think. Hold up. Okay, I see my error in my ways.
No, it's not an error in your ways. You're just talking about a different thing than what I'm talking about. Now, like, I just wanted to clear that up.
All right, let me just redact what I'm saying. So
no, you don't need to redact it, because what you said, I personally 100% agree with that. You know, the idea, I know it sounds funny. Some of the things we're talking about sound funny, but the idea of like colonizing Mars, why are we gonna, you know, people actually think about that stuff. Yeah, like China's gonna get there for like, no, screw all that. The human race is going to colonize a planet that's not Earth. Like, it's things like I know that's a huge thing, but like, look at America as a whole. Like, all of mankind can come here and unite in this melting pot.
Like, we're all just one big cultural pot.
Exactly, and it's just like
we're all just, you know.
And much to your point, I 100% agree. Like, the sharing, the respect, the intertwining in order to make new things, new values, new traditions, new subcultures, you know, that's huge. And I think that's incredibly important and necessary for us to continue on, you know, as humankind. I think that's like the building block. Because otherwise, if everyone's going to continue staying separated and everyone's going to continue like competing almost to this degree, you don't get much done, you know.
So how do you feel about cultural pride, like being pride?
I think cultural pride is, I think pride in and of itself.
Because here's what I'm trying to get. It's like, I know, I guess it's underlying. It's like, I guess my grandparents like talk about, I guess how I feel, the way I feel, the reason why I feel this way is like, when I have kids, like I guess, I don't know if my parents or grandparents did, but they're like, or I guess any Indian parents, like, is your kids gonna be like, are they gonna forget our ways? Are they gonna lose that Indian culture? Because I don't know. That's
because
like
it's
a
not
big
a huge
concern.
importance to you, and as a result, when you raise your kids, because it's not a huge importance to you, one,
it's gonna go away.
If you're a genuine person, you're not gonna suddenly fake that you know all about Indian culture and that you've grown up with it and it's been the nearest and dearest thing to your heart, because you're faking it. And you're not going to lie to your kids that way, because that's wrong.
Because there's that fear that it's going to go away.
Yeah, it's okay.
That culture, and it might, but you know,
but at the end of the day, you know, it's really from the things that you've gained, right, and that you've learned, that you've inherited from your parents, from your grandparents, and that they've inherited from their ancestors and so forth. Whatever values and traditions and pieces of that of the down to the root of Indian culture
Mm-hmm.
that you've decided to maintain and keep for yourself
Mm-hmm.
and practice for yourself, those you are going to show and demonstrate
Like
to
the
your
best
children
of that.
what you believe to be the best of that.
Mm.
Someone else might believe that everything that you care the most about from Indian culture is it's gobbledygook.
Mm.
No one cares about that, Jeff.
Mm.
You need to teach them about X, Y, and Z, not
Yeah.
A, B, and C. And they're gonna teach their kids those things.
So is that how you feel too about
That's how I feel. Like,
Salvadoran culture?
like I don't personally. I feel the same way. Like
Do your parents pressure you to like know the culture?
Here's the thing. I was just getting that.
Okay.
You've had much more interaction with traditional values and Indian culture,
and yet,
as a result of
I'm not even that cultured.
As a result of your grandparents and everything,
Yeah.
right? Because they come visit for very extended periods of time, and you've grown up with them. Your parents have really held on to that as best as they could.
Mm.
But they're raising children in America, born and raised in America. You're gonna acclimate to the environment around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It's just natural.
Yeah.
Okay. As a result of the nature versus nurture, all right, your environments versus what you've been taught, you're going to take whatever that mix up, whatever that amalgam of everything that you've learned and you've decided to harbor for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
keep for yourself, traditional, values and culture, etc. You're going to pass that on to your children in the best way that you can, to where you're not going to shove it down their throats. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to tell them, I'm going to disown you if you don't harbor these same
Mm-hmm.
cultural values as me, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to try and teach them and show them. And you yourself, just by living, are going to demonstrate that.
I think it's the best way.
And
Yeah,
that is the best way.
Because you're getting the best of that culture and you're getting the best of American culture, which could seem bad, but American culture is that cocktail. Is the melting pot. Like, so you're getting best of like maybe Chinese culture or like Salvadoran culture mixed in with that American culture. Mm-hmm. By talking to you, I can get your like perspectives on your culture. I can bring that into my parenting thing, and even better. So I'm not just getting the Indian culture. If I lived in India, I mean, this is just my perspective. If we were just living in India, you only get that culture. And now, because I'm living in America, I can get all the culture, I can make an even better parenting decision. Maybe I'll get more confused. That's the opposing side. I'll just be confused between two different viewpoints. But, in my head, I think it's a good thing. I don't know. I think it's a good thing that we get this melting pot.
I personally agree, because living here and being able to be exposed to so many different types of culture, rural backgrounds and traditions and views and all that stuff, I think it allows everyone to be able to, at the end of the day, grow up in an environment where they can choose, where they can, decide to, like, you know what, I actually like those things from Chinese culture, Japanese culture, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to understand, like, now this is where we blend our view, our talking points before, right? But you, in choosing what you like, what you don't like, you also need to understand that whatever you choose, whether you like it or don't like it, you need to have respect for it.
Yes.
You're not going to use it for personal gain, just to throw to the wayside, to make it a hyperbole, and just essentially make fun of it without knowing, quote unquote.
Just be
right,
cognizant.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What you're doing.
You need to be aware of what you're doing, and you need to be aware, like, is this okay? Why am I doing these things? Why, is it just because, like, like, you want to eat sushi because you like it? Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't mean that you have to pay, but does it mean that, like, you're gonna make fun of it or make fun of Japanese culture or whatever? Like, no. And I know these things kind of seem a little bit all over the place, because they are. But at the end of the day, the point is, like, you can like what you like, all right? But when you start going down the rabbit hole of, like, making fun of or using things as costumes that actually have a lot of traditional and cultural values, those are things that you need to be very careful of, because you can very easily offend people. A whole country of people, a whole population of people, right? You don't show up to the Halloween or costume party, right? In an Indian garb, pretending like it's a costume, because it's not a costume.
So practically, how would you do it then?
You wouldn't.
You just wouldn't do it
You
at all.
wouldn't do it because it's not a costume.
So you're saying the Hawaiian costume,
you wouldn't
don't
do
do
it.
it.
So like, and now when we get into fictional characters, much to the point, I still standing by the same point I made earlier.
You wouldn't.
No, even if it's a fictional character, what are the cultural values tied into that and everything? You know, there are, especially nowadays, like with all the, you know, with comic book characters, with newer Disney movies and fictional characters, they're making these characters. They're not caricatures of the, you know, the culture or whatever.
That was the one girl that dressed up as Pocahontas.
Yeah,
I do remember.
And that's the thing. It's just like, if that's actually part of your culture or something like that, your traditional values, your background, I feel like even then you need to understand that what are you doing when? Are you doing it as for a costume, for fun and games? Are you really going to bring down someone's culture to that level?
What if you were dressing up as Halloween, and you were paying respect? Can you do that? Is there?
I don't know if you can,
because it's still a costume,
without having to give a wholehearted explanation as to what you're doing. But even then, so many people won't believe you. I cannot show. I would not. I don't know if I can't specifically. I would think I can't. I strongly believe I can't. But I would not go to like a Halloween party, costume party, dressed as the Black Panther. Not just dressed. I'm not talking about all that excess crazy racist stuff. I'm just talking about dressing as the Black Panther. Like,
what if you're a big fan of it? Then you still can't. But if it's not fair. I don't feel that's fair.
I don't know, man. I could be. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I said,
that's personally, from what I'm saying, it's not fair because it's like.
You're a fan.
Yeah, you're pandering to what. I mean, it's good to be. It's nice. It's great that we're considering other people's feelings. But at the end of the day, everybody's one way or another is always going to be offended by whatever you do. I don't know.
I know. I know. But
I understand where you're coming from, and it's right. We shouldn't. But what if you're just a big fan of Black Panther? You can't dress up as. There's obviously a line.
Yeah.
There's obviously a line. I'm not going to dress up as Hitler for Halloween.
No,
that's straight up wrong.
Look,
but Black Panther is not specifically towards one. I mean, it is. Yeah, but why do you just like Black Panther? Like, what's the big deal?
Because of what you just because of that
because it's so tied to it.
Because anything that's so uniquely and specifically tied to a real, cult like Wakanda's not real.
So what if my kid wants to dress up as Black Panther? He can't.
You need to explain to them that although
you're not allowed to.
No, it's not. It's
gonna hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah. It has the potential to hurt someone's feelings because no one can know just by looking at you that you mean it totally out of respect or whatever. But regardless, look, if you like a fictional character that is so strongly tied to a culture, right?
I hope nobody gets upset with this. I mean this with the best
utmost
intent.
Respect.
Please, just tell me. I know. I'm just saying what I think.
It's fine. We need to talk about these things. We need to have these conversations, and we need to have other people involved because how else are we going to learn?
Help me understand. I'm open to understanding. But from what I'm seeing now, it's I don't know. That's just how I feel.
So I know this has been going on for quite some time.
I don't even know.
But it's probably like an hour now. And we're unapologetic about. Well, I'm kind of apologetic, but regardless, look, okay. In the idea, in the scenario of what about your kids? What about if your kid is your kid's, my kid, whatever, a huge fan of
Are
Black
you afraid
Panther.
of the culture going away, fading out?
Let me answer the first question, and I'll come back to that, and we'll close out. I think that if you're a huge fan, again, of something like that, like the Black Panther or whatever, and you understand all the background, all the cultural significances, and what have you, you're going to understand that as much of a fan as you are, you need to have an equal amount, if not much more, respect for the cultural ties that it has. And as a result, if you are not I don't know if this is exactly the right thing to say or not, or if this is the right thing to do or think. But from my opinion, if you are not a participant or have not had that cultural background in you, I don't think it's the best idea to go and dress as the Black Panther. All right, despite the fact that it's a fictional character, and explaining something like that to a child is incredibly difficult. But what it really comes down to is just sitting down with them and telling, like, look, I understand it's one of your favorite superheroes. You want to dress like it for Halloween, but there are some people who might not like the idea that you are dressing as the Black Panther for reasons that you're either maybe they're too young or maybe they're just right to listen to. But to each parent their own. Obviously, we're not parents.
Doesn't it sound weird to you?
I know it sounds weird. I know saying it sounds incredibly weird because it's like, it's a fictional character. Why can't you dress up as a superhero? But
I get what I understand.
Like, you can dress up as the Hulk. Why? Because there's no cultural significance with the Hulk. You could dress up as Superman. You could dress up as Batman. Why? Because they're not so uniquely tied into a culture. Like Wonder Woman or whatever. And I know people might say, like, oh, but it's American culture. What's American culture? The melting pot.
Yeah.
There you go.
So anybody can dress as...
They have different variations of Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman,
Spider-Man,
and stuff like that, and Spider-Man. Look, Miles Morales, right, and Earth whatever in the Marvel universe, and Peter Parker. And then you have other Peter Parkers and other Rileys and all that. Different cultural backgrounds, different races, everything. But I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go and dress as, I don't know, one of the Spider-Men that's so culturally significant and tied into whatever they are. I wouldn't go and dress as Black Panther. Anybody can go dress as Batman or Wonder Woman or whatever. But like, if there was a specifically, Indian Superman, right?
I think
that was so culturally tied in to Indian culture, I wouldn't do it. I know I sound like a broken record just saying this, and it hurts me that I keep repeating this.
This would be weird, just like one guy dressed up in brown face because he wants to be Indian Superman.
Oh my gosh, like even saying
but
that.
Honestly, but like, I don't. So it's weird. I'm Indian. I'm gonna say for myself, I think it'd be funny. I think it'd be funny. I don't really care. But that's because I don't have any connection to it, I guess. But then at the same time,
so dangerous.
But it's weird because when you said wearing Indian garb as a costume at a Halloween party, that triggered me a little. I was like, hold up. So I guess from the surface, it's like, oh, that's kind of funny. But then the more I think about it, I'd probably be like,
whoa there. Like, that's not right, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's not respect. It's not respectful. It's not respect. It's what it is.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it. I know.
So tying into the kids and culture.
Yeah.
How would you answer that?
Do you think they're gonna lose out?
Oh yeah. How do you feel about that?
Just repeat the question.
It was like, do your parents put an emphasis on them knowing the culture? Are they worried about them
not knowing how to speak Spanish or something like that?
Or losing the culture to American culture?
Let's be my parents.
Or do you have a worry about that? Or
I think what I'm gonna do, Lord willing, the day I have kids and what have you, and I'm raising them.
Are you gonna put an emphasis on?
I'm going to emphasize the things that I've
learned
and I've kept and that I've practiced. Right. So I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker. My parents are. Right. I don't know. Again, like, I don't know everything about the Spanish language and what have you, and I can't speak without making mistakes. In almost every conversation I have, there will at least be one mistake. Right. And that's me. But
does that bother you?
It bothers me because I'm kind of like, well, why didn't you talk to me more in Spanish when I was growing up, or force me to speak more Spanish or whatever? Why'd you just let me? And it's just like, well, at the end of the day, I've gotten to a point that I'm able to choose, my classes and things like that. I could take more Spanish classes. I could learn more. I can actually put myself to do more things because I want to learn more about it. Mm-hmm. That's my decision at this point. Right? Yes, my parents, parents get to a point where, they're quote unquote, I know the idea is like, you're never done raising your kids or whatever. Right? But there is a point to where, like, yeah, your kids kind of go off on their own and they start making their own decisions. Case in point, you can't pick their classes anymore. You know, in high school, you don't pick your classes anymore. All right, kids are picking the classes with the guidance counselors, motorcycle, let's say. You know, or in college, you pick your own classes. You know, like you get to decide what your education is going to be most of the time, unless there's strings attached and all that other stuff. But generally speaking, okay. So it's really up to you to decide. You know, what do you want to learn more about? What are you going to put more emphasis on, etc. So in that case, right? It's our decision. I can make the clear and concise decision and say, I care not to teach my kids how to speak Spanish. I will not spend any time doing that. I also care not to expose them to Salvadoran cuisine. I will not take any time to try and find a Salvadoran restaurant, authentic Salvadoran restaurant, or if not, learn how to cook authentic Salvadoran food.
Isn't that like
for
a
my children.
disservice to them though, in some regard?
I mean, some people might think that, other people might not, but that's really that's perspective, I guess.
How do you feel?
It's a disservice if you believe that, oh, my culture is better than American culture that they're gonna learn. And it's kind of like, well, why is it a disservice to your child if they harbor more American culture than they do like Indian culture?
I think there's a certain sort of like, I guess for some people it's like it's tied to who they are.
Yeah,
culture.
And so and that's the thing.
And if that's the case, then they kind of need to know.
And so you
Depends on the person.
Yeah, and you get into all that. How do you identify who you are and all your cultural background and everything? And you know, I think, again, can't harp on this enough. I think that having the respect for all cultures is so incredibly necessary. Like it's a need. All right. And without that sense of respect, of awareness of when we do things, of what we say, how we act, and how we use those things, I think that's something that a lot of people that's so many of those sub points are in the air, and that people are still trying to figure out, and that's why this is a huge deal. This is why a huge deal, especially now in a world where we live in, where things are really kind of coming down to the wire when it comes to like how politically correct are we, and just how involved are we when it comes down to who you are, who you identify as, in a world where especially in a country where we're a melting pot. What's right and what's wrong, and where do you draw the lines? Many different lines, different widths and
I don't want to say I'm putting down culture though. But I respect. I guess I want to say that I do want to learn more about my culture. I just don't want to. I think it's part of it's like I wasn't exposed to it enough. Like kind of like you,
Yeah.
Enough.
And
now I just had this like kind of like, what's the word? Like I don't know. It's just like now I just feel the what's the 5 stages of grief? Like the one.
Oh, DABDA. What is it? Depression, anger, bargaining, DABDA.
Was a D.
Denial.
Acceptance. I think it's denial.
Is the first one denial, or is the first one depression?
I think it's like the second one. But it's just like now I'm just kind of like, oh well, since I never learned about it, it's not that important. That's how I feel. I don't know what's the feeling for that, but I guess
I don't want to say you're in denial, because that doesn't sound right. But
that's probably not the right word. But I don't know. It's just like I'm open to it. I'm open to cultures and stuff like that. It's just like at this point, because I haven't had it. That's why I feel the way I feel.
Yeah.
But I fully respect everybody's culture. I just don't think it's necessary, but I fully respect it. That's all. I just want to say my piece.
Yeah.
So that way nobody.
No, it's perfect. You're all good, man. You're all good. Yeah. That being said, again, well, we took quite a spin there, but yeah, like we said, we came full circle and ended up talking about culture anyway. So, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, we do care and appreciate everyone's backgrounds, cultural differences, significances, and what have you. So, please understand that. And these, again, we're just trying to continue conversations that are being had today as part of our journey in, audible entertainment. So, and casual conversations, like we always mentioned. So, thanks for giving us a listen. And, yeah, guess that's about it, and we'll try and figure out and have a solid idea for the next podcast instead of potentially winging it. And apologies that this one's a little bit longer, but I think it's okay because especially for something that's so significantly important. So yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks for sipping along with us. If you'd like to stay up to date with our latest shenanigans and even some behind the scenes, give us a follow on our Instagram page @ydb.pod.
Let's catch up again next week. Peace.